All right, welcome back to the show. Today, our guest is James Kochalka. I probably misspelled it or said that wrong, but I'll bring him in a couple minutes to correct me. But we're going to the main book that we're going to be talking about today is his Glork Patrol. It's a young readers type book, but his work spans age groups. So, but let's talk about Glork Patrol from Top Shelf Productions. I believe it's looks like it's coming out, hitting shelves. The third volume is hitting shelves on March 14th. So let me just bring him in, and we'll find out more about him and his book.
Hello.
Hey, how bad did I screw that up?
No, not too bad. James Kochalka. That's how I say
Yeah,
it.
it is what it is, I guess. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
So before we get into talking about the book, I like to kind of see where my guests are with within comic books. I mean, do you remember maybe the first book you read, or maybe the first one that kind of piqued your interest and made you want to check out more?
Oh, sure. Well, my dad was a newspaper editor for a local newspaper in Vermont, and he was into newspaper comics. So I probably started with newspaper comics, like Peanuts for sure. Mm-hmm. And then old newspaper comics he would get collections of, like Little Abner. His favorite was Pogo, which I also loved as a kid, Walt Kelly's Pogo. I didn't get the political stuff. It was all just, hilarious to me, even though I couldn't understand it. I knew there was something adult about it, though. I think I kind of liked that. And Little Nemo and Slumberland, Crazy Cat, all those old classics. And then on my own, I got into, Casper the Friendly Ghost and Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. And then eventually discovered, Marvel Comics. There was one of the early comic book shops a few towns over, maybe a state over, maybe it was in New Hampshire. I know we had to drive away to get there. And, they had, huge back issue bins which I would pour through and be able to buy like Silver Age, DC comics really cheap. So I was really into like the early, those 60s zany Batman stories. And, the Marvel stuff. I really liked Incredible Hulk for a while as a little kid, until one day I realized he was like a really scary monster. And like, as soon as it clicked in my head that he was a monster, I could not read it anymore. I was just terrified. It gave all my Hulk comics away. But, so yeah, along a lifelong love of comics and a broad experience with comics from an early age, of different types.
And what made you think, hey, I want to do this? I want to make these.
Oh, well, I just started drawing them right away. I think like as soon as I saw them, it predates my memory, I think. I just started drawing comics right away. My mom says I was drawing comics and like before I knew how to write, and I would draw the word balloons and I just put little scribbles in them. That's before my memory. So
nice. So let's go ahead and talk about Glork Patrol, because that's the book that that is coming up.
So it's the third Glork Patrol book, Glork Patrol and the Magic Robot. They work as a series. They also work independently, so you don't have to have read the other ones to understand this one. Not at all.
So kind of, tell us about just like the overall, and then we can get into kind of the more the third volume specifics.
Sure. So Glork Patrol is basically, they're like some kind of like space ranger group. Their job is to patrol space. But there's one adult character who there was a previous series called Glorkian Warrior. So he doesn't have a name. He's just called Glorkian Warrior. I don't think in Glork Patrol I ever mention a name for him at all, except sometimes some of the characters call him like Dada. He's like their dad, basically. Their adoptive dad. So he patrols space. He's got a sentient backpack called Super Backpack. Super Backpack has got like a laser nozzle on top and eyes and a mouth, and talks to him. Basically, the Glorkian Warrior character is just absurd fool, and his sentient backpack is like, his guides him and offers advice and acts as a conscience. He doesn't always follow that advice. And then on his adventures, he basically encounters different creatures and adopts them, and they become members of the Glork Patrol. So there's this short little guy who looks just like. So the Glorkian Warrior is a three-eyed pink alien wearing like a blue jumpsuit. And Gonk is a three-eyed pink alien, looks exactly like the Glorkian Warrior's head, but no body, just two little feet. So, and then there's this character, Quackaboodle, the space god, but it's a baby Quackaboodle. It will eventually, it has not yet in the story, but it will eventually grow into like this, gigantic, destructive monster. But right now, it's like a gigantic, destructive baby. It's like a long snake, like kind of like it looks a little bit like a dragon, but somehow goofier. Looks a little bit like the three-eyed Glork characters too.
So, what was the inspiration for this particular story? I mean, it's there's a lot going on.
Yes, there is a lot going on. Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start. They meet a magic robot, which they have met before in the very first Glorkian Warrior book. Glorkian Warrior Delivers a Pizza. They do meet the magic robot and fight and defeat the magic robot in that book. But I just wanted to bring it back.
Yeah.
So he's back in this book. I before I started writing and drawing the Glork books, I started by developing a video game. Well, I was just doing sketches for a video game and coming up with like game mechanics, and I posted them online. And I had, been doing that off and on, just little snippets of things for a couple of years. And then eventually met this game developer, small studio called Pixel Jam. You might know them for a game they did called Dino Run, which was an online dinosaur racing flash game like more than a decade ago. Anyhow, we decided to make the game. And then right around the time we started making the game, I also started writing the graphic novel. So I was developing the game and writing the graphic novel at the same time. And the magic robot is also in the game. The game is called Glorkian Warrior Trials of Glork. And you can get it on Steam or iOS.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the magic robot in that is a giant floating head that shouts epithets at the Glork Patrol. In the game, he shouts things like, I can't remember any exact quotes, but basically kind of like Sinistar things. Oh, there's a lot of cake in the game too. So he says like, I hunger for cake.
Who doesn't?
You know, and he shouts stuff like destroy. And I don't know, I have like 20 lines that I wrote. You know, I basically took things, it was inspired partially by Sinistar,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great classic arcade game. It was also inspired by The Wizard of Oz, The Wizard of Oz giant floating head. You know, like he doesn't act, he's not, you know, it's like a hologram or whatever. In The Wizard of Oz, they walk in to see him and there's that giant floating head.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a few other giant floating heads and stories. So it was kind of inspired by all the giant floating heads out there. I'll give you a spoiler. You can just put your hands over your ears, anybody who doesn't want to hear it. But in Glork Patrol and the Magic Robot, they crack it open and there's another magic robot inside. Oh, and the reason they have to go out looking for this magic robot is the Glorkian Warrior gets, at the start of the book, the Glorkian Warrior gets a package in the mail. And the kids open it up, and it's like a tiny, tiny little robot version of the Glorkian Warrior. And and they want to play with it. And he's like, no, this is like not for playing with. This is an expensive piece of scientific equipment. But he really just got it to play with, I think, you know?
Yeah.
And they take it out on its first Glork Patrol. He lets the kids go off with the robot by themselves, sort of like with them, you know, having a momentary lapse of dad judgment, forgetting that it's an expensive piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And then they run down its battery and they have to figure out a way to recharge it. So they go to the wizard, just like in The Wizard of Oz, right? And the wizard is to, you know, will hopefully solve their problem. But of course, just like in The Wizard of Oz, he's very angry that they're bothering him. And they sort of, you know, basically he gets tricked into helping them.
So is, you know, this being the third volume, do you have a particular character that, you know, you've kind of either grown attached to or enjoy writing, or is there one that, you know?
Well, all the like kids' favorite is Gonk, the little version of Glorkian Warrior, because he talks in a ridiculous baby talk, which they really enjoy. Someone asked me recently if, like, do parents get mad, you know, like, because I'm showing, I have a character who talks, you know, incorrectly, and like you're only supposed to show perfect diction in a comic for kids. I don't know, but I think,
how dare you, sir?
Yes, exactly. But I think the opposite is actually true. The kids know that he's not speaking correctly, and it excites their imagination and gets them to think about playing with language. And playing with language only makes you smarter. You have to think about how to take a sentence and like alter it to baby talk, right? Like if you want to, and that makes you smarter. Learning different ways, learning to translate from human, you know, like adult talk to baby talk, and to play with language that way, is a good developmental tool. But that's not why I did it. I did it because they find it hilarious.
Yeah. So how long does it take you, you know, because you write it and you draw it?
Yeah.
How long does it, you know, take, long does it take to get from, you know, inside your head, you know, to on the page to a finished project?
Okay, well, it takes like years of thinking about it. Years of thinking about like you've got these little story ideas, and I just let them bounce around in my head for like a long time. Maybe not years, but I mean, it can be years. For some books, they bounce around for years. And then sometimes like another story element pops in. You're like, oh, that kind of goes with that one that I already had bouncing around in my head. And if you let them bouncing around for a while, then when you sit down to draw or write, it goes pretty fast. So I can write, like, script a nice, the way I script my books is I don't, it's not like writing a play. I just draw a comic. I draw the comic in pencil really fast, right? So it's rough. I can rough the entire graphic novel, like 3 to 5 days. The fastest I've done one of those 40-page graphic novels, I've scripted it in a single day. If I get especially inspired, usually I have to take breaks to just let my mind reset a little bit. And like one time I got lucky and did it in a day. And then I draw. So I've drawn it once rough, and then I draw it again carefully. That takes a couple weeks, and then I draw it, and then I ink it. These books I'm inking in on my iPad and Procreate. I also, some other books I use physical ink. Trying not to let my physical ink skills completely disappear. But Procreate makes things, I don't know, it's really snappy and fast for me. So another couple weeks to ink and color it. So I can, if everything's firing well, finish one of those 40-page graphic novels in like a month, which is really, really, really a lot faster than some of my cartoonist friends. But I don't put out a book, but I'm not putting out a book a month,
Right. Yeah.
Space things out a little, and work on different projects. And I also write songs and stuff. I write songs every day. Well, I'm trying to write a prose novel now.
All in baby talk, right?
Yeah. No, this one is that's a good idea. This one's not in baby talk.
So is Glork Patrol, is that, do you have a finite story that you plan on telling, or is it just kind of an ongoing as you are inspired to add another chapter?
Yeah. Basically, I'm always sort of thinking about it. I just begin work on a new Glork Patrol book when Chris Staros, who's the editor at Top Shelf, he'll like call me or email me and say, we're ready to publish. He's like, we're ready to go. We need the cover and the first 5 pages next week. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, so then I got to scramble.
Well, and that kind of is a nice segue. You've had a long relationship with Top Shelf.
I was in the very first thing they ever published, before they had the name Top. Brett Warnock, who's no longer with the company, he published he had a comic book company that only put out one thing. He put out an anthology called Top Shelf. And then he was like, I can't do this on my own anymore. I need partners. And he joined with Chris Staros, and they were like, I think at that his company, the anthology was called Top Shelf, and his company was called Primal Groove Press. And I think Chris said, well, I think Top Shelf is a better company name. Let's go with that. But I was there at Top Shelf since Top Shelf #1. So long time.
And was that as you were talking before?
Sometime in the early mid 90s.
And was that with American Elf?
No, it was, well.
Okay.
It was before American Elf.
Okay, I was going to kind of transition because doing when I first got the press release and the opportunity to ask me if I wanted to talk to you, I was like, that name is familiar. I need to go back. It's like, okay, his work is not only for kids. You have a wide range of audience that you write for. That's
Yeah. Well, the beginning of my career, all my books were for adults, and
Mhm.
then the switch happened by accident. I just happened to draw a couple graphic novels that I thought were for adults, but kids happened to like them. One was Monkey versus Robot, which is actually a pretty bloody book about monkeys and robots fighting, but kids like that one a lot. And then I did another one called Pinky and Stinky about these two pig astronauts that crash on the moon, which was also for adults, but kids thought it was for them. And then I was like, well, maybe I should actually do this on purpose.
Yeah.
um, and then I had kids of my own, and then and then I had like a real then my understanding of what I was actually doing and what it was all about in making kids comics really, grew exponentially by having them as a test audience and that kind of thing.
Well, I know my son is he's into Sonic the Hedgehog, and my older brother got him the second like omnibus hardcover, and one of the I guess it's from the annuals was done by you. I was like, hold
Oh
on,
yeah,
that name is familiar. It was
yeah.
It was the Sonic fan club.
Yeah. So I wrote that story, and another artist drew it.
Hmm.
But I wrote my script the same way I always do, by drawing it. The panel breakdowns and everything pretty close to what I did. They made some little changes. It's good. If I had drawn it, Sonic would have been very off model. you know, uh, I could force myself maybe to draw in the house style, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be worth it to try that. To torture myself trying to draw that way. Yeah, I draw well in my style, but I might not draw so well in the Sonic House style.
Yeah. Now, if you can we talk a little bit about American Elf and kind of about that one too?
Sure. So that's my a daily diary comic strip that I started. When did I start that? 1997?
8? I don't know. 8?
1998? I don't know.
Eight?
So, um,
I'm reading. Because my brain is a sieve at the moment. I had to bring up
I think
the
it's 98.
wiki. Yeah, I had to bring up the wiki page. So
Yeah. And I did it every day for about 15 years. So that means like I drew it even if I was sick, even if I was like camping on a mountain in the woods and it was pouring rain. I drew it every day no matter what. And boy, that takes a lot out of you. So after about 15 years, I decided it was enough and I quit. And then like about a year went by and I drew like one or two, but didn't do anything with them, just in my sketchbook. And then next year, I think I drew another one or two and kind of did that for a bunch of years. And then, I started a Patreon account because I just saw this. I didn't have one, and I saw this thing pop up online saying they were changing the money share that that creators were going to get, but if you signed up before they made the change, you'd be grandfathered in with the old amount. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I better start one. So I started one, but I didn't post anything. And a year went by, and I didn't tell anybody I started it. And then someone subscribed, and then I was like, oh my god, I got to generate content for this one subscriber. So I started doing little things and posting them, and this worked out pretty well.
Now you've had a very successful, career as a cartoonist. I mean, you won a Harvey. You've been Eisner
Yeah.
nominated, and you are even
Yeah. One Harvey, 2 Eisners, 4 Ignatz Awards,
yeah, and you're the
and something else
cartoon
too. A couple
laureate
other
of
little things.
Vermont.
Yeah. I was the first cartoonist laureate of Vermont.
Tell me that seems like a very well. I'm in Albany, New York, so we're right next.
Oh yeah, close.
So if yeah, assuming you're still there, then we're right next door almost.
Yes. And so I was the first, and then let's see, after me was Ed Koren, the New Yorker cartoonist.
Hmm.
And then I think it was Alison Bechdel,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then Rick Veitch.
Okay. Nice.
Um,
And
yeah,
and, well,
good
and
crowd.
what were the duties that came along with,
Well,
or was
there,
it just kind of a nice title?
um, there are no official duties, but schools and libraries started to
Hmm.
contact me and see if I wanted to come and talk or teach a cartooning lesson, and I usually said yes.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I don't drive, which makes it hard for me to like go somewhere that's
Hmm.
very far. But I'll be like, if you want to come get me, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And or sometimes I talk my wife into driving me. I try not to. I try not to ask her for too many favors. Um, I mean, she usually says
Yeah.
yes, but I don't want to I don't want to be annoying.
Yeah. Isn't that what we all strive for with our,
Yes, just try not to annoy your wife too much.
So is there maybe something that, because I don't want to keep you too long. Is there something that, maybe, you wanted to mention about the book or anything that you know, we didn't get to cover or
Well, I think I said enough. I think I said enough about Glork Patrol and the Magic Robot. Hopefully, it sounds interesting to everyone, and they want to go check it out. It is for like young elementary school age kids, but I don't see any reason why an adult couldn't enjoy it. If you can enjoy absurd, silly things.
yeah.
um, and I'm finishing up a book for Top Shelf right now that I've been serializing on my Patreon called Jimmy's Elbow. And it's about a boy who has an elbow. It's a sentient elbow, and it gets pretty surreal. And that one, well, my patrons to my Patreon is, they're all adults. So I'm
Hmm.
definitely drawing it for an adult audience. But
Hmm.
I kept in mind that I have a largely uh, uh, that
Young.
my the audience from a young audience. The rest of my other than the Patreon account, the rest of my audience is kids. So the book is definitely, although it was written for adults, it's still totally appropriate for kids. But I think that one I'm sure adults will like.
Well, if you kind of would give like a small little pitch, and if you know, are you on social media? Where can people?
Oh, sure.
Where can
Um,
people where can people find your, well, obviously Patreon, but
yeah, yeah. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I think on Instagram I'm at Kochalka. Kochalka was taken already on Twitter, so I'm at the underscore Kochalka. I posted like 3 things on TikTok.
yeah,
um, and I'm on Bandcamp also, but uh, also as Kochalka.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm probably most active on Twitter.
go. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time this afternoon to chat with us. And
Yeah, thank you
if
for inviting me.
and when the book your other book comes out, if you want to come back and we can chat about that, then be
Yeah,
more than glad to do that.
love to come
And
back and chat about Jimmy's elbow.
and if people want to, they can find more from me. I'll subscribe to the channel. I try to put something up every week, talking to a different creator or just something like that. Plus, you can follow me on.
We desperately need someone to talk to. It gets really lonely sitting at home drawing comics.
I'm still learning how to draw a circle and a
Nice.
stick figure. So,
well, I was drawing the cover to Jimmy's elbow today, and on the cover, there's a bunch of giant floating eyeballs, which are basically circles. And circles like the hardest thing to draw. I had to draw those circles again and again and again, trying to get them just right. It's so hard to draw a circle. I know you can use a tool in the drawing app to just like snap that circle into place, but that circle doesn't look good. I need a hand-drawn circle, and it's okay. It's a little wobbly, that shows that we're human beings.
Again, thank you. It was fun talking to you, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. And everybody should go check out the book when it arrives. Have your local comic store order it for you, because we need to support them. March 14th. So
It'll be bookstores too. If you definitely you have to order it online. Of course, Amazon has it, but get it from your local shop, please. Yes. It's so awesome.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. It was fun talking to you and learning about the book and, a little bit about your career. And hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.